media. I liked the film. Somebody came out and he said it's, in German we say plakativ, you know, for somebody it was a little bit too simple, but I do think it's so important to have a film that really reaches to a broad, you know, public, and I think this film achieves that, and I was very touched, and I was very frustrated, and I could have cried to say, I mean, who are we as humankind to be so stupid and things repeat and just continue? And we had India, we have with Afghanistan, in Africa, it happened. It's like so awful. And so what do you think, where is the hope? And I also would like to congratulate the main actors and Manish Dayal and Huma Qureshi. What did that trigger with you to get into this story and this reality, to see that it was part of a bigger plan, which actually seems to be confirmed, that it was not Mr. Mountbatten who was so stupid to do it, but it was a bigger plan, as we have bigger plans nowadays. And Gillian Anderson, your role was fantastic, but it's also this role, the woman who is so humanistic and the woman side of this powerful man. And what are your stands also today, political-wise? And I mean, because the links to today times, to our times, are so obvious, I would like to have some sort of statements from the actors as well, and it would be really great to hear something about that.
Who wants to start? Gillian?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. I think that I did not know a lot about this history before I started working on the film at all, and I grew up between America and the UK, and it's certainly not something that was addressed in my American high school studies. But you know, in honouring the script and wanting to bring a semblance of truth to who this woman was, obviously did research. But what was fascinating to me in the work that I did was how they, you know, from this story, how they applied themselves to the role that they were being asked to serve, and how extraordinarily out of their depth they were at the time in this, you know, completely ridiculously opulent house with 500 servants, you know, in the middle of what would soon become one of the greatest atrocities in history. And you know, I think the conversations that I had within the script between the Mountbattens about what on earth to do, how to move forward, how the patience that Edwina implores Dickie to apply, etc., are all you know, show the kind of lack of power, I guess, you know, at a time when everybody is leaving, where Britain is removing the forces, and the governors are all going back, and there's nobody left to support the decisions that they are making, and here are these two people stuck in this role, in this house. It's such a sad tale of the end of, you know, of colonialism. And what is there anything else?
I would just want to say that I think for all that it is a story that shows epic decisions and epic tragedy, human tragedies, ultimately, through all that bleakness that is alluded to, it does come down and bring into focus the simplicity of human lives, and the fact that at the very end, in this most unlikely of endings, which was actually one of the certifiable facts of the film, of two people finding each other in a refugee camp long after the events had taken place, and that actually turning out through fiction to become the fact of Gorinda's grandparents, I think brings it into focus that despite this backdrop of seismic shifts both in humanitarian need and indeed shifts of geographical humanitarian location, there are seeds of hope. And I think even in these ghastly times that we're living in, let's cling on to those moments of two people finding each other and building a future.
Well, I just want to say this, that the partition is something where, as an Indian or a Pakistani, whether you're living in the country or outside, is something that affects everyone very, very deeply. And everyone has a backstory in terms of a family member that they've lost, or property, or you know, whatever, something that they've lost. And the scars are still very deep, so much so that even now, the relationship between both the countries, no policy, no decision can be made without a reference to the partition or the scars that has left behind. That's how much the subcontinent really has been affected by it. However, having said that, I mean, the film is, of course, one part is actually what happened with the Mountbattens coming to India, and the politics and the history behind it. And of course, there's a fictional story between Manish and I, which is the human story, which is the fairy tale romance we all want to take back with us. And I'm glad that through that we leave the audience with some hope that in this world, which is increasingly becoming right-wing and you know, pushing the other out, is becoming about us and them. We are giving them a message of hope and humanity and love by the end of it. So that's what we, I guess, are trying to say.
Manish?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, they've touched on most things, but I would say that Jeet, my character, represents for me a very relatable idea of youth and what it means to be young and idealistic, especially as an American right now. Jeet isn't going to, Jeet's the kind of guy that wants to not accept what's happening around him. He is an idealist and he's hopeful that all of these things will pass. And I think that how it is relatable to me as an American right now is that we are experiencing what many of us like to call the resist movement, which is being, and I was talking to Hugh about this last night, it's about being active and actively protesting and actively working to sort of oppose something that we disagree with and celebrate sort of inclusion. And I think that that's how my character Jeet relates to me, and how I think it's so applicable today and also for our film.
Thank you. I know that we all would love to go on talking about that movie, but we have a time schedule to follow. I'm very sorry, but thank you very much.